Choosing the right niche is the number one thing you need to start or scale any online service business. This is especially true if you want to attract more ideal clients who pay in full, who show up, who do the work. My name's Jesse Martin, and after creating $1 million in revenue for my own business in my own unique niche, which is a crossover of mindset training, branding, and marketing and online business scaling, here's the proven process that I found works every single time. Your best niche is going to involve using your own story. So in this video, I'm going to share exactly what that means and how to find your own unique niche that is actually profitable and marketable and attracts the ideal clients that lets you scale your business and grow at a faster pace. After doing this for myself and teaching this to hundreds of therapists, doctors, clinicians, and all kinds of online service businesses, here's the number one thing that I found stops people. It's actually mental blocks. It's not just not knowing how to find a good niche. It's actually in something internal. It's in your mindset. What I found is that there are certain ways of thinking that stop people from feeling confident to niche down. The number one thing is that people fear losing opportunity. And there was a great book written about this called The Paradox of Choice. Our minds are wired to think abundantly, which is actually amazing. Our minds are wired to take all the opportunities that we can, especially when it comes to gathering resources like food, water. Money is just another resource. And so when we think about growing a business, meaning get clients, becoming profitable, we see that our unconscious mind, the subconscious mind, sees that as resources. Just like you would gather food and water because it's essential to live, our minds are wired to gather as much as possible because we're hardwired for survival. We're not actually hardwired to think in this unique way. So you have to override and practice a different way of thinking. So if you're trying to help everyone because you don't want to lose out on opportunities of all the people you could help with your service, and I know you could probably help lots of people across many, many niches. The problem is if you have a very broad focus with your work, you don't deeply resonate with anyone. The generalists in the world really struggle to stand out and often have to compete on price. If you are a generalist and are trying to resonate with many, many people across many, many topics, you will be seen as what's called a commodity. A commodity is like a gallon of gas, a gallon of milk. It's kind of the same thing you can get anywhere. Even if you are very different or very unique, if you don't show that uniqueness, people will view you as a commodity. And then you have to compete on price, or you have to give away more stuff, or you have to deal with lots of tire kickers and difficult and high maintenance clients. Because without a niche, your marketing is going to feel scattered. Your clients won't feel like it's made for them. If you are a generalist, yes, you can kind of connect with everyone, but you're not deeply connecting with anyone. So there's no one group of people for one specific need that feel like you are made for them. That is actually what you want. So imagine spending hours or maybe weeks or even months branding yourself, marketing yourself. But because potential clients don't deeply resonate with you, they'll just scroll past you because you don't get them. You don't deeply resonate with them. Does that make sense? So you really want to resonate on a deep level with people in a smaller group. And here's what's cool. There are billions of people on this planet. Just in the US alone, there are hundreds of millions. So out of all these people that you could help, your goal is not to reach every single person and give them everything. Your goal is to find a niche, and that niche may be 1 million people or 10 million people or 100 million people. So even if you do specialize, there's probably still millions, even though it might feel like you're limiting yourself. This is what you have to realize. By trying to resonate with everyone or market yourself very broadly because you're afraid to miss out on some people, you're actually going to have the frustrating situation where you're going to get inquiries from people who don't really need what you do. Does that make sense? So niching is not about limiting yourself. It's about becoming the go-to expert in a specific area. This way, clients will seek you out instead of the other way around. If you are a generalist, if you don't find a really good niche, you're going to have to really try hard to get out everywhere. Yes, it can kind of work. If you have millions of followers, if you have a best-selling novel, if you have an online best-selling book, if you're a famous TED Talk speaker, if you have a huge presence already, That's great. You can be really broad, but most people are not the Tony Robbins of the world. He can be very broad to many, many people because he has millions and millions and millions of followers. Does that make sense? So if you don't have that, niching down in the specialist way I'm about to share is the solution, okay? So here's how you do it. Here's the 3 steps that have been proven to work, and comes from proven experience, again, in my own niche, which is mindset, psychology, branding, online marketing, and helping people launch programs and things like that. I found this a unique and kind of unusual crossover of my hypnotherapy training and then crossing that over with business and marketing. Does that make sense? So this is what I found, and after doing this with hundreds of other people, helping them find their own unique niches in everything from health, wealth, relationships, and all kinds of other topics in between, here's how you choose your own. The number one thing you want to start with is look at your own story. What life challenges have you personally overcome? Your own story is going to give you authenticity and congruence. If you use your own story, specifically 1 or 2 life challenges that you've overcome in a specific area of life, this is going to be your message. If you've personally done this or overcome an issue, you have instant credibility. Even if you don't have all kinds of degrees and certifications or a best-selling book, you have instant credibility because you've personally done it. Who would you rather learn from? If you wanted to get in really good shape, would you want to learn from someone who has 50 degrees but is in not good shape themselves? Or would you want to learn from the really fit friend who doesn't have any degrees to back it up, but they are in the best shape of their life and you have seen them go on a transformational journey from, say, being overweight to really fit? Who would you learn from? Someone who's read a bunch of books or has some degrees but are not living the results themselves, or from someone who's actually living the results? You would learn from, most people anyway, would prefer to learn from someone who's actually done it or is doing it themselves, even if they don't have all the degrees and certifications. Now, if you have degrees and certifications, amazing. That just makes it even better. Does that make sense? So that's the number one thing. Look at your own personal journey. What struggles, what challenges, what hurdles have you overcome, especially if it's something specific, a relationship issue? Have you gone from being single and lonely to finding a great relationship? Have you gone from having a struggling marriage to having an incredible, intimate, loving relationship? That could be your niche. Have you gone on a health journey, going from struggle to some sort of health transformation? Have you gone from some sort of struggle around wealth or business or career or being in an unfulfilled job of some kind and then finding a fulfilling career? Think of what hurdles or major milestones you've been through. Okay? So that's the number one thing. Look at your own story. And if you have to, go write out some of your major hurdles. Do some journaling, do some writing. And if you really are unsure, go ask your friends. Say, hey, what have you seen me overcome? What has been inspirational for you? Make sense? So this leads us right into number 2. What struggles do you see that are common pain points out there? So if you've been through a struggle, that's amazing. That's one green flag. Now go look for other struggles other people have lived. If you haven't been through this major struggle, but you know how to help people through it, it's okay if you haven't been down in the depths of the deepest, darkest hole of the struggle yourself. If you have helped other people and you see other people have this problem, that's the second green flag. Look for problems that people struggle with. If you just get this one thing, this could override all the other steps. Look for struggles people have. The best niches are struggles, pain points, frustrations, problems. If you can solve problems for people, all the other marketing things that you could try to do don't matter as much. Because if you have a solution, people will want to learn from you. Yes, you do have to still put yourself out there. You have to learn how to get in front of people and present your message well so that people know that you can help them. But if you find a serious struggle, people are already looking for it. You don't have to convince anyone. Does that make sense? So the right struggles or the types of struggles that you want to look for are painful and urgent. Those are ones that people will pay for to solve if they're painful and urgent. If it's painful but not urgent because it's like a low level oh, I got pain in my toe and it's not a big deal, that's not that painful and it's not that urgent. But if someone is like, I'm about to run a marathon and I have major back pain and sciatica, that is a painful and urgent problem. And you could be the fitness coach for athletes about to run a marathon. Does that make sense? If you are a health coach, if someone is 5 pounds overweight, not feeling great, but that's not that bad of an issue, they feel good, they look all right, that's not that painful and it's not that urgent. But if someone is going to get married and they decide, okay, I'm getting married next year and this is my year, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, I want to look great in my suit, I want to look great in my wedding dress, that's painful and urgent. Does that make sense? So you could be a health coach for someone like that. Same in business. If someone's in a painful, struggling, dead-end, burnt-out career, that is painful and urgent. Make sense? So even if you are a therapist, you could be a career therapist. You could help someone solve the inner struggles in their career. If you're a doctor, instead of being a general practitioner for internal medicine, you could be the person who is the anti-inflammatory health specialist for athletes who want to run a marathon. Does that make sense? So any area of expertise that you have, you can apply it to a specific struggle. People don't really care that much about internal transformation. They don't want to be the scientist. They don't want to be the practitioner of the work. They just want their problem solved. So if you can talk about the problem and how to get out of it, and then show some confidence that you can actually help them by your own story, or that you've done it for other people, or that you're just currently living it, even if you didn't have to overcome it yourself, you can show how other people can have the life that you have. Make sense? So that's the second step. Very, very important. Find a specific pain point. Then the last and actually equally important step is test it. Commit to this niche, but actually test it. Test and commit means you don't need the perfect niche. Just commit to it. Give yourself 6 months. Give yourself a year. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you choose a specific problem like I'm telling you, you will actually have very good results, I promise you. But just choose one that resonates with you and one that resonates with a few people out there. You test it by going and talking to people. Go find some people who have this problem. Maybe you need to go on some online forums, some groups. Maybe you need to go in person to some meetup groups or some networking events and just talk to people and test your idea. Ask them about their struggle. Ask them about the problem. Say, does this make sense to you? Does this resonate with you? Do you have this problem? Are you open to making some changes? Would you like to talk about how to solve this? That is testing it. You're talking to people. This is like market research or a focus group. Make sense? So, you want to find a story or transformation, a journey, a hurdle that you've overcome. That's one. If you have 1 or 2 or 3 of those, pretty much everyone, if you've lived your life at all, you've had some hurdles that you've overcome. You don't have to be the world expert on everything. You don't have to have a perfect life. But if there's one thing that you know well, and it might be something super, super niche. You might have a very chaotic personal life, but you're really good at cooking healthy meals. That's amazing. That is a niche. You could be a health coach who's great at making home-cooked, high-protein vegan meals. That could be a health niche. Does that make sense? So find something that you've personally done. You don't have to be perfect on everything. Find one area. 2, test that or also match that with what are specific pain points out there that people struggle with. Find specific pain points. And 3, test it. Just commit to one niche and go test it. Instead of deliberating and trying to do 5 things at once, test one niche and really commit to it for 6 months or a year and go all in. Become the specialist. If you just do this, I promise you, you're going to be way, way, way ahead of people who may have been in business for 10 or 20 or even 30 years. Okay? You're going to stand out against all the generalists and all the people who are trying to promote and compete at the lowest price, or compete by talking about all their degrees and certifications but are still generalists. If you become a specialist, even if you have less experience, even if you have fewer degrees or fewer certifications, even if you have less credibility on paper, if you become a specialist in the way I just showed you, you will stand out. So if you want more stuff like this, just click the link in the bio here, description of this video, and I have lots more resources and free group on this. Thanks. Love you lots. Appreciate your time. Talk soon.